The polar vortex has split in the upper levels of the atmosphere, sending the coldest air mass of the season all the way down into the deep south. If you take a look at the overall setup, here is your polar lobes, if you will. One of them still trapped up there in the Arctic, but the other one has in fact split from itself. That's sending very cold anomalies into North America, down into the lower 48. At the same time, we're going to be seeing multiple disturbances. You're going to be traveling from west to east. It's going to tap into some of that Arctic air mass, producing some heavy snow and some ice along with it. But we've got dangerously cold temperatures and even colder wind chills approaching almost 50 below zero in spots. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel, and I would love to reach 260,000 subscribers by the end of the month, and you can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my daily content. So here's the setup on the polar vortex this morning. You can see it's definitely dropped a little bit further south. It's right here, and a piece of that is actually going to be hanging back over areas of the Dakotas and Minnesota with some dangerously cold wind chills approaching 60 below zero, folks. Very cold air mass. And a piece of those polar lobe will drop all the way down into the deep south. We're actually expecting another freeze all the way down into the Gulf Coast states, and also dangerously cold wind chills with extreme wind watches and warnings in place. So here is some of the brutal, wind chill factors this morning. This is just what's to come in the week ahead with the coldest air mass of the season. We've got a huge area of well below zero temperatures, wind chills right now of 20, 30, 40, upwards to almost 55 below zero up there into the Dakotas. That is just a sign of things to come, because single digits drop all the way down in Kansas. We've got teens showing up into Oklahoma, and widespread 20s this morning, as some of that colder air will continue to plunge southbound into the week ahead. And right now, the Weather Prediction Center is forecasting just a massive area. This is actually sub-zero wind chills, folks. This air mass is likely going to hit east of the Rockies. So if you're west of there, you're really not going to be feeling this effects of this polar vortex. But if you're east of there, you're definitely going to be feeling it. So all those areas in yellow, that's pretty much almost 100% probability you're going to be dropping feels like below zero, feels like temperatures. But that air mass plunges all the way down to the deep south, but it's also going to set up an area swath of heavy snow. So we could be looking at widespread record cold temperatures. We've got numerous record colds, and I'll show you some of those record colds. And that was going to be dropping all the way down into the Gulf Coast states. There it is, wind chills approaching 30 to 60 below zero, folks. This is some serious stuff. That is frostbite criteria in 5 to 10 minutes. And further south, we'll be looking for a significant winter storm developing, with easily an 8-inch snow swath plus up there into Kansas, especially there into Missouri. That is going to be swinging across into Kentucky, and eventually going to be impacting into Virginia with some heavier snow. So right now, here's the overall National Weather Service hazard map with the snow swath coming in. We've got the high wind watches and warnings still in place for those areas across the Northeast with that storm and for the weekend. That's still hanging on with some pretty significant wind gusts this morning, essentially from the mid-Atlantic region all the way up into the Northeast, with some 50, 60 mile per hour winds, definitely with that system. But coming in as we head into deeper into the week, especially earlier in the week, we're going to have another snow swath forming, with another squall of heavy snow is going to be forming across areas of Montana through Wyoming. And that's going to set up some significant snows and even an upgraded winter storm warning for those areas in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we should see the most significant snows in southeastern areas of Kansas, and especially there into central and southern Missouri. They take the brunt of it, or the bullseye. And yeah, that is a winter storm warning, folks, into Arkansas. So it shows you the deep intrusion of this air mass, and this will likely be extended in a good part of Tennessee into Kentucky, especially those areas into northern North Carolina, into Virginia. I think they get crushed with heavy snow. And there's also going to be a fairly significant cold air damming event with some significant ice likely to form in southern portions of North Carolina as we get deeper into the week. But right now, heading into tomorrow morning, you can see the definitely Arctic intrusion continue to plunge southbound. Look at the tight isobars. That just gives you an indication the winds are going to be significant. And I can't even rule out even, yes, some blizzard-like conditions at times in Kansas, getting into Missouri, even far northern portions of Oklahoma could actually experience some blizzard-like conditions as the temperatures can tumble big time, especially there on Tuesday. It's going to be a significant change, folks. Very rare to see temperature anomalies of 30 to 40 below average, folks. You know that is some serious Arctic air coming into the lower 48. And it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks because it's going to have those temperatures fall rapidly with the flash freeze effect, and then continue to tumble, and bone-chilling cold follows behind it with easily the coldest air mass of the season. For some, obviously not for all, but areas east of the Rockies should experience very cold plunging temperatures, as well as higher wind gusts is going to be associated once that Arctic front moves back on the backside. So that's where we could in fact have some of those blizzard-like conditions unfolding, especially there in Kansas and northern areas of Oklahoma. There's probably going to be a freeze line associated with some freezing rain, freezing drizzle, likely south of the Oklahoma City region, getting into the far northern portions of North Texas. Has to be on the lookout for some dangerous ice. So here's the setup going into overnight Tuesday night as they continue plunge southbound in those temperatures. We've got the elevated lift, and those higher snow amounts likely start to unfold with some 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates in far northeast portions of Oklahoma, especially there in Kansas. But check out Missouri. That's where we have the more significant totals into the overnight as a band of heavy snow unfolds across that region, northern Arkansas. But there's the transition into that freezing rain type setup with a very shallow Arctic air mass in place. Arctic air sinks down to the surface, warm air rises, and that's where we have the battle zone in the middle. We could unfold some icing and some dangerous travel across Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, there in Arkansas, and then more of a chillier rain further south. So we're likely going to be seeing some transition to kind of a very light freezing rain, freezing drizzle, if you will, which also still could be dangerous. A glaze of ice on the roads is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than a quarter inch of ice, because you're definitely expecting, but black ice is definitely going to be a huge concern, especially into Tuesday night for those areas into southeastern Oklahoma, into North Texas, northeast Texas, and then that transition to just all ice for those areas in Arkansas. Heavy rains further south into Louisiana and Mississippi, but there's the heavy snow filtering into western areas of Tennessee, especially there in Kentucky, where they dealt with all the flooding concerns over the weekend, and fortunately fatalities came with it. We had some snow on the backside. We'll get heavier snows again. Going to be moving through that area, especially there on Wednesday. And there's the jet stream, continues to pummel in that colder air, and they will have that conveyor belt of systems coming in from essentially going west to east. So it's going to be riding this line as cold air comes in, and then you got the drier air on the backside of it. But there is some of the, overall record low temperatures. So all these areas that are highlighted in the circle area, that's where we could experience our record low. So we'll break it down Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for you. So here's your Wednesday morning. Overall, we're projecting 32 record low temperatures, dropping down into almost 46 below zero up there in the Dakotas. We've got negative numbers dropping into Kansas, there into the Texas Panhandle. So yeah, not very often portions of Texas gets below zero. That's exactly what's going to happen as we head into Wednesday morning. You can see the air mass east of the Rockies, right? So if you live west of there, you're really not going to be feeling the effects of this Arctic air. But if you live east of there, you're definitely going to be feeling it in a big way. Single digits drop into Oklahoma and portions of Texas. Single digits starts dropping into Arkansas as we start to see the single digits there into Ohio. But look at the air mass continuing to plunge. We're talking about 75 record low temperatures on Thursday morning as we have more of a widespread freeze and a big area of sub-zero temperatures all the way down into Oklahoma, folks. Yeah, single digits for West Texas. Teens dropping into Central Texas. We've got a freeze all the way down into the Texas coast, right? We've got Lake Charles sitting at 27. We've got New Orleans at 31. I mean, yeah, after we've had, this has been a roller coaster. We started very warm. We had record high temperatures to start the month of February. Now we're talking completely the opposite, record low temperatures, but this is actually going to be rebounding quickly going into next week. So it's going to be a rapid change, but we have to get through this week first. But Friday, leaving still hanging on with those numerous record lows, 51 record lows. So yeah, doing the math, I mean, easily 150, 180 record low temperatures from now until Friday morning. That's a lot of daily record lows temperature setting, as 20s drop all the way down into the deep south, 29 in the Florida Panhandle, folks. Yes, that is some serious cold coming, and it's going to continue to drop further south. So breaking it down on the wintry precipitation front, going back to Wednesday morning, we'll have that changeover to this all snow on the backside. So you have that beginning stages of an icy event, but then on the backside, some heavier snows will be moving through Arkansas, those areas in the northern portions of Mississippi, especially there in Tennessee and Kentucky, getting into West Virginia. And that's only continue to kind of pick up some fairly significant totals there into far eastern portions of North Carolina, especially there into Virginia. And we could have some of a cold air damming event take place into southern portions of the Carolinas, getting into northern areas of South Carolina as the Arctic drier air comes in on the backside. And that's where the temperatures really start to plunge, but it'll leave a pretty good snow swath in its wake, and definitely some heavier snows coming out of the Intermountain West that'll drop through the central U.S., especially there in Kansas and Missouri. We could be looking at some 8 to 10 to 12 inch totals, especially there in Missouri, getting into southern Illinois, getting back into Kentucky with 4 to 6 inches. But then another significant snow swath will form, especially there into Virginia, with some double-digit totals showing up on the map. And this will traverse mainly off the East Coast, but still leave some pretty good snow swaths along the I-95 corridor with this particular setup. But it'll also leave some freezing rain, freezing type drizzle. So just to the south of there, we'll have that battle zone. So we could be looking at a kind of an icy setup for those areas south of the Oklahoma City region, getting into southern Oklahoma, portions of North Texas, areas of East Texas, northern Louisiana, areas of Arkansas, Mississippi, they're in Tennessee, and then more significant icing with that cold air damming event into South Carolina and to North Carolina, especially there into Virginia. Then we'll have that transition to all snow into Virginia. But there's the overall bone-chilling wind chill index coming up on Thursday morning. A more significant widespread below zero temperatures, folks. Very rare setup. Some of these areas haven't seen this kind of cold in several years, folks. Actually, since February of 2021, it got really dangerously cold. It's not that historic, this event, but it's still plenty cold going to be on the table, with wind chills dropping to 14 there in Houston, 9 degrees there in San Antonio. You know that is definitely some colder air mass coming in. And then we'll have another little setup as we try to come out of that Arctic air. We'll have another little disturbance form there in Texas, and we could be looking at another possible freezing rain, freezing icy drizzle type mix along the Red River, areas of far north Texas and southern Oklahoma again, before we start to come out of this Arctic air mass. That will be Friday night going into Saturday morning. But once we come out of that, it's off to the races, folks. As fast as we plunge even further. We go up just as fast. So by the time we hit to Monday, most of, if not all, the Arctic air is all the way back up into Canada. And we've got well above average temperature anomalies coming up for most of next week to end February. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update while I protect you before and after the storm.